February 24th, 2022, a day that forever changed Ukraine. Every city and village, every family and business found itself under the impact of war. It brought not just physical destruction, but forced society to adapt to a harsh new reality marked by explosions and air raid sirens. One of the most critically important sectors during the war became telecommunications infrastructure. Connectivity emerged as one of the most vital resources for effective military operations. It was essential for coordination between units, rapid transmission of commands and information, controlling drones, and providing aid in crisis situations. For civilians, communication became a lifeline. It allowed people to stay in touch with family, even if they remained in conflict zones or fled abroad. It facilitated remote work, online education, and access to reliable information amidst propaganda and chaos. Telecommunications workers, recognizing the significance of their mission, began operating under extremely dangerous conditions. They repaired networks under fire, established autonomous power sources to sustain critical nodes, and despite losing revenue due to shrinking customer numbers, continued their efforts for Ukraine's benefit. Every day became a battle for connectivity because communication meant life, safety, and hope for millions of Ukrainians. These are the heroes at the forefront of Ukraine's battle for connectivity. The director of an internet provider from Kramatorsk, who has been maintaining connectivity for the community and soldiers since 2014, when the city was liberated from occupation, despite constant shelling. A representative of 1IX, a distributed internet traffic exchange point that connects major operators, enhancing efficiency, connectivity, reliability, and accessibility of the internet. The owner and CEO of an internet provider who has transformed 60% of his network to a different technology due to energy supply issues. A member of the Ukrainian parliament who chairs the committees responsible for digital transformation, defense, and cybersecurity. The director of the largest fiber supplier for Ukrainian telecom operators and chairman of the Internet Association of Ukraine, representing hundreds of electronic communications operators. The manager responsible for the operation of the main distribution network of 1IX, overseeing the central and southern regions, some of which were under occupation and are now liberated. These stories are not fiction, they are real, and the lessons learned are invaluable. 1,000 times more valuable to hear than to experience firsthand.
Friends, I understand that right now it may seem that the war is far away in Ukraine, and it will never reach you. You might think that if rockets start falling outside your window and the sound of machine gun fire becomes a reality, connectivity will be the last thing on your mind. But trust me, connectivity will be the first thing you think of. You will want to know where your loved ones are and what is happening. Connectivity will be the first thing you remember as an operator because it will become your weapon, your means of protecting yourself and your country. Back in February 2022, we lost connection too. Our employees were scattered across Ukraine, cut off from each other. We decided to create a kind of backup internet to provide at least basic messaging, television, and communication for our families, our citizens, and our entire country. We created 1IX. In 2 years of full-scale war, we now manage around 150,000 prefixes, have distributed across 50 independent data centers, and administer 7 cross-border connections. We all know the golden rule of network administrators. If it works, don't touch it. But believe us, it's far better to plan upgrades, deploy new uplinks, and expand your infrastructure when it is quiet, when no explosions are heard outside, and when there are no emergencies. Each new provider is a new experience, an opportunity to learn how to enhance and protect your network. We strongly recommend holding network security days once a month or once a quarter, testing new providers, connecting to new exchange points, trying new data centers, and establishing new routes. Unfortunately, the city of Kramatorsk has been suffering from the Russian invasion since 2014. From April to July 2014, the city was under occupation, and in 2015, it was struck by MLRS rockets, causing numerous deaths and injuries. Since the full-scale invasion on February 24, 2022, Kramatorsk has been bombarded with dozens of rockets. Infrastructure has been destroyed and lives have been lost. Our company once served nearly 15,000 subscribers. Due to forced evacuations and ongoing hostilities, we lost over 50% of our clients, even as the cost of maintaining and restoring the network under shelling skyrocketed. Behind me stands the Kramatorsk Hotel, which once housed one of our main technical sites. A rocket struck right next to the building, damaging all our main communication lines and equipment. It took more than 2 days to restore connectivity. Since February 24, 2022, we have restored over 400 kilometers of optical backbone and client networks. In terms of backbone channels, we were better prepared this time. In 2014, we only had 2 independent internet channels. By 2022, fearing the outbreak of hostilities, we had 6. Yet even this was not enough to maintain connectivity. Just 18 kilometers behind me is the front line. Unfortunately, the clothing I wear has become a uniform for our technicians, who must restore connectivity after each attack. Over this period, we have laid more than 80 kilometers of new underground backbone lines to our technical sites, ensuring independent, redundant routes in case of damage. We have also purchased dozens of powerful batteries and inverters to power our sites. Moreover, we are building a new optical network using PON technology in Kramatorsk's high-rise buildings to keep the city connected. Currently, we are in an underground shelter, protected by nearly a meter of reinforced concrete. This is where we now have to relocate our equipment to shield it from shrapnel and missile strikes. I sincerely wish our experience was unnecessary for anyone, but war is a terrible thing. Here are a few tips that might help an operator in a crisis situation. Reserve everything you can. Have backup equipment in different locations. Secure as many internet channels as possible. Even 2 or 3 may not be enough during active hostilities. Keep a large stock of materials for repairs, especially when courier services cannot operate. Invest in energy-efficient technologies like PON and new energy-saving and generation solutions. Remember, your main resource is your employees. Leadership must stand with them during crises. Founded in 2002, Artacom occupies a critical position in Ukraine's telecommunications sector. The company specializes in backbone fiber optic communication lines, providing both its own and third-party network maintenance. The performance of these lines directly impacts the operation of nearly every telecommunications company in Ukraine. Before the war, we carefully analysed potential risks and implemented a strategic programme. The first and foremost concern was the safety of our personnel, physical safety. We didn't know where the rockets would fall, where explosions would occur, or where mines might be. Our employees travel across the country, restoring communication lines, constantly exposed to these dangers. To protect them, even before the war, we provided tactical medical training, equipped them with specialized first aid kits, and for those in high-risk areas, we supplied helmets and body armor. Another critical risk we foresaw was personnel loss due to mobilization. Companies like Artacom are essential for the state's functionality, and our employees, who maintain backbone lines, must remain in their roles. Securing military exemptions for these employees was a necessity, and though it was challenging, we gradually resolved these issues. But the challenges we faced during the war were beyond what any one organization could handle alone. Solving them required effective cooperation between state authorities, central, local, and businesses. I am the head of the line department for 1IX in Kyiv region. My team and I are responsible for maintaining the backbone and distribution networks here. We manage high-speed transit channels running from the center to the south for telecom operators, as well as distribution networks for businesses and residential users. When the war began, we immediately faced severe problems with the backbone lines. Regional network nodes, where major internet providers and mobile operators were concentrated, came under direct missile strikes. Many of these vital points were completely or partially destroyed. As the region saw intense fighting, with heavy artillery shelling, the local population built defensive structures, trenches, bunkers, and fortifications. Excavators, tractors, and shovels dug up the ground everywhere, often severing our fiber optic lines multiple times a day. We found ourselves in a situation where our main lines were either damaged physically or went offline due to power outages. To ensure the stable operation of our network, we made a strategic decision to relocate and duplicate all major backbone sites. Allow me to show you one example of our experience, moving backbone equipment to a safe location where the risk of missile strikes is minimal and where we are entirely independent of the power grid. Here, we stand in one of our key locations, a regular building that now houses our passive backbone communication setup. All fiber optic cables, including backup routes laid along alternative paths, converge here. We dug several stretches, around 10 kilometers long, connecting to two different main communication channels, bypassing all primary backbone points to create an independent site. We also relocated some of our active equipment here, those that survived missile strikes. The remaining equipment was distributed among similar secure locations. Since no technical manuals exist for such a situation, we had to make decisions on the fly. So, what did we achieve? The minimum required equipment fits in 3 telecom cabinets. Our DWDM systems deliver 1 terabit per second, while the current traffic on this equipment is around 500 gigabits per second. It can operate without electricity. Our fuel reserve lasts 4 months. It can run on solar energy for at least 10 hours without fuel or grid power. Only 2 technicians are needed for 1 hour daily to maintain this site. In summary, this site meets all the latest EU data center standards. In current conditions, it can operate for at least 6 months without electricity.
Autumn 2022 marked another turning point. As massive attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure resumed, the term blackout returned to daily vocabulary. Across many regions, emergency and planned power outages became commonplace. Both major cities and small towns experienced extended periods without electricity. In some areas, power was supplied for only 2 to 4 hours, followed by equal or longer outages. To cope with the new challenges caused by widespread power outages, Ukrainian internet providers had to reconsider their internal structures. Many companies established specialized units dedicated exclusively to maintaining stable network operations during crisis conditions. Their tasks included analyzing, purchasing, testing, and upgrading equipment, particularly batteries and uninterruptible power supply systems. The key requirements were fast charging, extended autonomous operation, and adaptability to unstable voltage. For many operators, this became essentially a new direction of activity that previously did not require such extensive efforts.
Our engineers and specialists urgently needed a solution, and we found it. We developed custom circuits and upgraded power boards in network switches. Electricity was on for 4 hours, then off for 4 hours. Our main task was ensuring the batteries could fully recharge within these 4-hour windows, so the devices would reliably operate during subsequent outages. At one point, we even started importing battery cells from abroad as they charged faster. We purchased battery management systems, BMS, and assembled batteries ourselves directly in our company's office.
Technical upgrades to charging stations and imports of lithium iron phosphate batteries allowed us to partially stabilize telecom network performance. However, these measures couldn't guarantee stability during sudden changes in outage schedules. Just a slight extension of the power outage, from the planned 4 hours to 6, could again push network nodes to the brink of failure. To fundamentally solve this problem, some operators made a strategic decision, transitioning from active FTTB networks to passive optical networks, PON. Due to the absence of active equipment between nodes and users, these networks consume minimal energy and are significantly more resilient during prolonged blackouts. Although this transition is technically challenging and costly, it greatly reduces infrastructure dependence on unstable power supplies.
We significantly accelerated the deployment of PON networks. If, at the start of the power outages, roughly 5 to 10% of our network was built using PON technology, over the next 2 years, we tripled that percentage of users. When I first joined Parliament, I worked in the Digitalisation Committee, where we brought about a revolution in our country. With the full-scale invasion, I joined the Defence Committee because cybersecurity and cyber defense are now among the most critical issues. We experienced kinetic attacks on our energy infrastructure firsthand. Behind me, you can see how Ukraine is now filled with generators. Our operators and service providers withstood this kinetic assault. Some operators ceased operations, but most, especially small and medium businesses, survived and continued working. Why? The key was having a 3-layered power redundancy system, from uninterruptible power supplies to multiple generators and multi-layered redundancy of landline communication channels. We have a unique number of telecom operators, over 2,000. Thanks to this diversity, I cannot recall a single instance where fixed communication for Ukrainian citizens disappeared completely. Today, nearly every Ukrainian is fighting. changing. Maintaining the electronic communications sector is a constant challenge, but we have implemented a system for reserving key technical staff and emergency recovery teams so that even during full-scale war, the digital communications sector continues to function. But our soldiers, our men, are not increasing in number. And unfortunately, this prolonged war drags on. I don't want to make predictions, but it may only be a matter of time before Ukrainians are no longer enough, and then you will have to defend Europe.
Massive shelling, energy instability, logistical challenges, and shortages of quality equipment became a true stress test for Ukraine's telecom industry. But these very conditions forced operators to quickly adapt, create new specialized departments, re-equip networks, transform access architecture, and reserve critical resources. The cost of this adaptation is enormous, but the results are gradually becoming evident. More and more nodes keep operating even in darkness. The number of passive optical networks is steadily increasing. Backup channels are becoming standard, making connectivity more reliable. The Ukrainian internet is learning to survive wartime conditions, becoming one of the most resilient networks in the world.